Hello. I'm Anna Sale. I'm the host of Death, Sex, and Money. I see you stragglers over there at the bar. The show is starting. I want to welcome all of you here tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you to those of you who are watching on Facebook Live, and to you who are in the studio audience with us here tonight. Most of you are members of the new group of young supporters of New York Public Radio, and we are so grateful for your support. Thank you. If you want to know more about the AMPS program, AMPS, A-M-P-S, the group of young supporters for New York Public Radio, go to wnyc.org and just search AMPS in the search bar at the top of the page. I'm really excited for tonight because we are welcoming back to Death, Sex, and Money Hari Kondabolu, the comedian, and his mom, Uma. They were on our show about a year ago, and it is one of the most fun conversations I've had in my life, not just in my radio career on the show, in my life. They are such a joy. And tonight we're doing something different. I usually ask all the questions on Death, Sex, and Money. It's an interview show about the things we think about a lot and need to talk about more. But tonight, it's your questions, you in the audience and Death, Sex, and Money listeners from far and wide, asking questions about life dilemmas, looking for advice. And Hari and Uma are here to give it. So please welcome to the stage Hari Kondabolu and his mom, Uma Kondabolu. Welcome. So I want to tell you a bit about the first time I got to interview Hari and Uma together. It was in Brooklyn, and we were live on stage, and I talked to Uma about coming to the U.S. after medical school from India and raising two little boys in Queens, one of whom was Hari. And Hari talked about what he learned from his mom, many things, but the one thing that continues to stand out is how she taught him how to stand up for himself because of the way he watched her move through the world as an immigrant in Queens and as a woman who was just asserting herself and not going to be pushed around. They are wonderful, they are kind, and they are the kind of people that you want to get advice from. Because I want to show you, this was the Brooklyn event. This was me cracking up. This is what it was like the whole time, basically. I think I asked 4 questions because I was giggling the whole time. And I was pregnant at the time, about 6 months pregnant. And then I got a text a few weeks later. This is from Uma Kondabolu on my phone. Hi, Anna, how are you? Thinking about you every day. Still working? Health is okay? She's just checking in. And we exchanged text after my baby June was born in June, and she gave me a thumbs up when I sent a picture. So they are the kind of people that you feel looked after by. So I'm so glad they are here to answer advice questions. So without further ado, we're going to start with our first question from a listener from Death, Sex, and Money who lives in Washington, D.C.
Hi, this is Ariel, and I have something on my mind for which I could use some advice. So I'm in my early 30s, and for the past few years, my social life has been filled with weddings and baby showers. And in fact, this year, my partner and I have 11 weddings and 7 babies coming so far that we know of. I do feel really ambivalent about marriage and motherhood for myself. I don't want to make these big life choices simply because they're expected, but I worry that my life is becoming obsolete and know that time is ticking if I do want to start my own biological family. So do you have any advice for living a worthy life if I decide to not marry and start a family? Thank you.
Thanks for starting with the softball.
Yes, tips for living a worthy life. Tips for living a worthy life if you don't follow the expected route of marriage and motherhood, especially for women.
You want to start with this one?
I think, how do you feel? How do you feel like?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like for me, those are things I want. Like, I want to be able to be in a committed relationship and have a child, but I also know that I'm pursuing my career, and I don't want to, I feel like I want a degree of stability before I'm able to properly be in a relationship and really be invested in the way I should be also in a child. But it sounds like she's married already, right? She has
sounds
not
like,
already.
Yeah,
but
it sounds
And
like
she
she's
said
not
partner.
sure she wants to
She
be a
said
mother.
partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so she's married, and she doesn't
She's
know if she
partnered,
wants
yeah.
to have, partnered. I mean, it's not like, who cares what everyone else is doing? I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's like they're not going to wake up at 3 a.m. because your kid's crying. Like, that's on you.
That's true. As a new mother, nobody else comes in. Maybe dad.
But when it's your kid, you won't feel it.
Yeah, that's true.
When you want it, and you think time is passing by, if you are sure that you may not miss it, you can adopt it. If that's that kind of a person, that should be fine. But one thing I should tell is life will never be the same again. If you think, okay, I can have the kid like a...
Stop looking at me when you say that, please.
There's no halfway.
There's no halfway. And I think she should go for it. Marriage is not very important nowadays. It is important enough. But what guarantees that that person also feels they both are in the same place at the same time? So I think she can have a kid and raise it nicely. And if he's there, it's very nice. If he's not, hey, he's missing it too. That's how I feel. Maybe my generation may not like what I said, but marriage and all the trimmings and everything is excellent if it works out. So it has both ways, plus and minus. I think she should go for it if she wants.
But does she? It just sounds like she is ambivalent about having a kid to begin with, right? Which is...
No, she thinks her life as such is maybe not there, won't be there once she has the kid.
Oh.
So
if she wants, she should have a kid.
She should have it.
Well, this
gotta
worked out.
figure out if
See,
she
like
wants.
if you were worried about not having a life after, like it's finally paying off. Like, look at this.
Here you are on stage, yeah. Okay, Ariel, I think the big thing is if she wants. That's the big question.
Yes.
That's the big question.
Is she ready for it?
And that's the hardest because women have the time pressure.
Yes.
So that's like the decision making has to happen on there's a deadline. Yeah. Our next question is a video question, so you can see it here or here.
Dear Anna and the amazing Death, Sex, and Money crew, my name is Katie, and I'm a marine biology PhD candidate based in Boston. I'm really close to my very large family that lives mostly here in New England, and I see everyone several times a month. Since my dad passed away 2 years ago, family time has become even more important for everyone, especially for my mom. Within the next 2 years, I'll finish my PhD, and it will be time for me to really start my career. I study Caribbean corals in the context of coral reef restoration, so my dream job, and really where my career is headed, will have me living and working quite far from my family. My family has always been incredibly supportive of me and my career choices, but recently, whenever I talk to my family about what my next steps are, they half-jokingly tell me that I can't leave them and that I can't move away to the Caribbean. Do you have any advice for me as I try to balance this really strong connection I have with my very large family and balance that with my strong drive to realize the full potential of my career and really contribute to the recovery of coral reefs? Thanks, and I can't wait to hear from you.
This is a hard one.
That is a hard one.
And the fate of coral reefs are at stake. Uma, you live very far from your family.
Yeah. If kids, suppose in my case, I left my country, leave alone little distance. And if my kids want to do it to fulfill their career, I think I would let them go. I think without happiness, you find resentment later. Oh, if they didn't let me go, I would have been somebody. I would have been happy. I could have done that. I think better than that, they should go now, find their path, do whatever she wants to do. And always you can come back and keep in touch. Nowadays, like, you can see each other all the time. And it need not be in your lab.
I know she means it because I remember the first time, when I decided to do stand-up and things were starting to take off, and I had my first set of meetings with like different networks and stuff, which I now realize was just a bunch of nonsense because young 22-year-olds need to take meetings so they know they're doing something with their career as executives. But nonetheless, it was a big deal for me at the time. And so, it was exciting, and I was traveling to LA and everything. And I found out after my trip, I was gone a couple of weeks, and my mom had a heart attack in the middle of it. And she didn't want me to know. She told my father and my brother not to tell me because she didn't want it to interrupt what I was doing. And in hindsight, I'm still really pissed about it. Like, I want to know if my mom had a heart attack, and especially after knowing, because some 22-year-old Yale graduate is judging me, and even though the next year he won't even have that job anymore, that's what I had to do instead of being with my mom. So I think that's an extreme measure. I don't think that her family should keep giant secrets from her. But I know that for my mom, she means it. She doesn't want there to ever be regret. And I mean, at the end of the day, if she feels like she cannot even enjoy doing the work she's doing, then she knows she has to go back. But if she's able to feel engaged and actually do the work that she feels she's supposed to do, I think isn't that why you raise kids? Isn't that why you educate them? Isn't that why you want them to succeed? So.
And you travel a lot for work, and I think of you as someone who is deeply connected to family and to Queens, to where your family is. How do you keep that connection when you are all over?
It's very hard. I mean, I think that's something I've been thinking about a lot, just how much longer can I tour at this pace? Because, somebody asked me yesterday, how long are you gone for every year? And I said, well, this year's been pretty good. And I think about it, I've been gone 2.5 months. I mean, we're in May. That's actually half the year so far. But to me, it's it's been slow this year. So, I mean, it's hard. I think for me, it's trying to, and this is something I've done more often, is trying to come up with a where is this going? Trying to figure where is this going? What is my limit, and what is the cost, and is it worth it? And especially, I was, my mom had another heart procedure. Another time I was on the West Coast, and this time she did tell me, which was good, and I flew back. But it got me thinking. Again, thank you for that. But it got me thinking about what is actually important. And so, I think I try to call as much as I can. I try to text as much as I can. I let them know when I take off and when I land.
Every time?
Every time.
Yeah, because
he never misses. He in the airport, I'm leaving this time. And he texts me from airport, and on the way back, he texts me from airport.
Which is ridiculous.
I'm in a cab.
It's ridiculous.
It's sweet.
It's ridiculous, but yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. But my son's in the air in a machine. it's scary. I get it. I'm scared to death too. But but yeah, I mean, I think those are little things. But at the same time, I worry that she's keeping something from me that's big because she doesn't want to get in the way. And I think I'm at a point now, honestly, that none of this really matters. It's fun. I have a cool job. I get to do work I love, and I'm appreciative of the work I do. But at the end of it, it doesn't really matter.
I think to come back to not telling you, I would do it again. It's
I know.
necessary because.
And it makes me very unhappy to know that.
No, if I know for sure I'm going, I'm not. I won't live anymore. Then I tell him, okay. Come back, have one last look or something.
One last look.
But if I know I'll be all right after a couple of days, why bother anybody? Especially when they worked so hard and he traveled all the way, he's somewhere, and that feeling is not pleasant. Oh, my mom might die, let me rush back. What if I don't? His trip is a waste. That's apart from being, I never want to, I know he's very sensitive, and I don't want him to put this burden on it.
You're protecting him.
Yeah, and also, only thing I feel bad about is, without realizing, I put burden on the younger one, my second one, because he later told me, Ma, how it is not telling your brother, if something happens to you, he'll blame me for the rest of his life. That upset me more than not telling Hari.
Yeah.
So from now on, I might do it, I may not, but I don't even tell Ashok now.
It's tell them both or neither.
Neither. Yeah.
It's a weird game, Ma. It's a weird game.
We have some questions from the audience, but they didn't want to be named. So know that they're among you. This question is, my family hates my boyfriend. I love him. I love my family. Help.
Huh. I mean, it's leaving out a lot of details. Like, why does your family hate your boyfriend? Does it have to do with this person's background? Does it have to do with what this person currently does? Does it have to do with how he treats you? Does it have to do with how he treats them? Like, there's a lot of different, and for each of those situations, there's going to be different answers. I mean, if it's because, like, your boyfriend's a different race and I just don't feel comfortable with it, well, then your parents can go to hell. And, but I think, if it's like, if it's something to do with their career, their jobs, I mean, that doesn't seem particularly right. And if it has to do with how he treats her or them, that seems like a really valid discussion. So there seems like there's a lot of variables in there.
But I think you answered the question.
I answered many questions in that question.
Yeah,
yes.
Because it's like think about where this is coming from your family and whether it feels aligned.
If I'm the mother, I would like to more about that person. So instead of keep an open mind, bring him more often to meet them. And they hate more, or they might not hate anymore. So
Bring him around more and see what happens.
yeah, see what happens.
Yeah.
And explain to the parents that he's a nice guy. Whatever they want for her to be happy. I say, I see this and this in him. That's why I started dating him. Explain it to them. And expose him more to them and vice versa.
My mom never told me what to do with my exes. She always just tried to stay neutral, and like I would talk about what issues I had, and she would like kind of explore it with me. And in hindsight, I really wish she told me to get out of a couple of them. Like some of the, I'm like, yeah, that could have been a couple of years saved. But yeah.
Next time.
Thanks.
Another question from the audience, also an anonymous question. At what point can you have the boyfriend-girlfriend conversation?
With children?
I think it means when you're dating. At what point do you say, what is happening here?
That's good.
I think it's different for each person. The intensity of the feelings, I feel. If this person hits up right away and you feel strongly connected, I think it's 2-3 meetings. And if he's genuine, girl always knows. Mm-hmm. And for boys, it takes like 6 months.
I feel like in New York, the rules are different, to be fair. Like by the first date, I want to know what's going on. The second day, are we moving in or not? Because this rent's getting high and we have to keep it down right now. So, I mean, I think it's when you start feeling that you have expectations of any sort. Okay, I have expectations. Is it okay to have expectations? This person have expectations of me, and if so, that must mean something, right? So, I mean, I think that's like a bare minimum.
Yeah, that's like what the boyfriend-girlfriend conversation is. What can we expect from each other?
Yeah.
But for Indian, my generation, it's no dating, no girlfriend. I just saw my husband before the wedding. So I think 2-3 days, I know it's something I took on and it's a lifelong trouble. Lot of adjustment and raising. I'm still raising him. I'm finished with them, but it's fun.
The next question.
Dad is probably watching this. It is being live streamed.
Hello, Facebook Live.
One thing good about your father, I'm confident, is he knows the way I'm talking about him, how I feel.
Yeah.
And we have a great understanding of each other.
Right.
And then whatever I say, he knows what I mean.
Right.
What do you mean?
Gets it.
It's just show business.
Okay, we have a few quicker questions. Let's listen to this one.
My name is Kevin. I'm 30. I've had a lot of upheaval in my life recently, including around a dramatic career change. However, I'm still feeling pretty stuck. What advice do you have for someone who wants to have a successful and fulfilling career? And how do I figure out what that even looks like?
Kevin wants to have meaning and feel fulfilled. He's 30. He doesn't know how to start. When you feel stuck, how do you...
Meaningful and fulfilled in his life, or it sounds like his career specifically,
Sounds his
right?
career. He's like looking for what's the thing. When you feel stuck, like what's the first step to feel unstuck?
I mean, for me, like therapy has been very useful. Just
Preach. Yes.
I mean, just to be able to talk through stuff with another person that is, doesn't have a stake in you. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't have to deal with you on a daily basis. Is paid to help you. I feel like some people go to career counselors, or some people talk to dear friends, but I do think therapy is like, what is it that you really want out of your life? And not just out of your career, but out of your life, Why did you choose this job? What was it that you were trying to get out of it? And how come you're not getting it? What is missing? Why did you assume this is what you needed?
Did you go to therapy when you were shifting from human rights work into comedy?
No, that didn't do it. I mean, I think if you honestly want to know, it's those relationships were brutal, man. And I was just kind of, you're brainwashed. I think in general, but especially as a young person growing up in this country, to think love is a certain thing based on what we watch in television and film. And when the rude awakening comes for some of us, that not at all. There's something that happens after the film ends, and it is unpleasant. That's when the work shows up. Like, Diane would have dumped Lloyd Dobler in London and say anything.
She would have.
Totally.
She would have.
You wanted to be a kickboxer with no real plan? Anyway, and that, love story ends with her dying. Spoiler alert. It's not 1970. You had time. But maybe that was for the best. Maybe they would have had a miserable time after, because he was an ass. He was an ass, But all that being said, I feel like trying to navigate that, and especially I think, my parents are great, but their life is very different than my life as an American, especially with regards to love. They had an arranged marriage. They had a very different adolescence. Their expectations were different. The culture was different. The time was different. And now all of a sudden, I'm being raised almost like, in one regard, like an Indian kid from another country in the 60s and 70s, and I'm in this country now. It doesn't really, So I'm learning from film and television, and I feel like therapy for me in large part is how do I deal with the fact that my expectations of life were wrong? That sounds awful, but it's true. How come it isn't what I thought it was going to be? And what is it, and how do I adjust to it, and what is the life I want? So I think that's what, more than anything, got me to therapy. Human rights to comedy was so it's I'm going from one low-paid profession to another one. It wasn't that much of a jump. Yeah.
I think he's
Kevin?
not having Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Being not happy, maybe there is a different reason for it too. He's focusing only on career, but easy one to talk about. Maybe his relationship is not good, or he's at the life where there are several paths and he don't know where to go. I think he need to look into it, not just career, what other things that bothering him. That's what I feel. And apart from therapy, I think he should sit and write down what other things are not the way he wants it, and figure it out.
That's good advice. We have a question from Judith. That's a good one.
Hi, Death, Sex, and Money. I'm a mom of a millennial. I grew up in a blue-collar family, and so when it came time to leave, I left. There was no help from my parents. But it seems like parents help their kids out financially a lot longer than they used to, and no one seems to talk about it openly. And I'm wondering, is continuing to pay for cell phones and other things help them or hurt them? It seems like people feel like if they have the means, they automatically should help. And I don't know if that's the right answer. Thanks.
Pass.
What do you think, Uma?
It's situation to situation is different. If the kid is just lazy, not willing to do anything, cut him out. And he's trying to do something specific. His heart is in the right place. He's working hard for it. Then help him. After all, he's your kid. And negotiate.
Negotiate.
You go half, I go half. Or while aiming to be an artist, work somewhat.
You don't need to be so specific. We can... He or she, they, you can be vague. It could be all sorts of professions. Someone who chose a career in the arts. There's so many things. How about lawyer? Go with lawyer.
I like arts.
Yeah, all right.
Is it comfortable for you two to talk about money together?
Yes. We'll talk about anything and everything. We don't have any
as far
problem.
as you know, yeah. But I think...
and let's keep it that way. For my sleep.
I mean, honestly, I've never really been that dependent on money as an adult. And, I've had jobs, like, pretty much right out of college into whatever this is. There was that stretch, though, when I moved back after grad school, and I wanted to do stand-up comedy full-time. And... because I was living in London before I was living in Seattle. I was an immigrant rights organizer, and then I moved back home to New York, living in Queens again. It was really weird borrowing money from my parents because that is not something I expected to do. And they were supportive because they knew I was pursuing this. And a few times I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit just because I'd gotten on TV and gotten a manager and had all this stuff happen when I was doing it as a hobby. And now all of a sudden I was doing it for real. I'm like, this sucks. You have to not get paid ever, and you have to live at home, and I have to take the F train from here to where now? And what? I'm in Queens. What is Park Slope? And that's that's extremely hard. I think for my mom, I know she was really good with talking about this being an investment in myself, and sometimes investing in yourself means not investing money but time.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Which would shock the hell out of me because I don't think they were ever crazy about comedy, but once I was like, well, you're going for it now, so if you're gonna go for it, don't half-ass it, go for it. And we've been able to talk about money also in terms of retirement for them and the house payments and what it's gonna look like, once they pass and what the kind of things I need to prepare for. I mean, it's not pleasant. These aren't pleasant conversations, but I think they're necessary. Yeah.
Is it the two of you having that conversation, or is it your father and your husband included in those conversations? How do you do those?
It's usually you and me, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wow.
and my husband, I talk about it. Surprisingly, some things my husband is more liberal towards his kids, especially Hari. And he came from London, and then he is nice enough to say, Dad, I have still $10,000. Take it. And then he said, no, you keep it. Until you settle down, it will be keep it in your bank and it will be there. And we never thought money is more important than my kids and their dreams being fulfilled. We both still feel the same way. Him, Hari or Ashok, both of them. We know we have a roof over our head and retirement comes, we don't need much. So whatever they need, we are there all the time. Only thing I tell them both is go out and try your best. Give your 100%. Always home is here. Your door is always open. We are here. Come home.
I mean, I know that sounds just all American family but brown. But I think, but there's a lot of truth in it. My father worked 3, 4, 5 jobs. He had his main job and a bunch of side jobs while we were going to school. My mom, of course, as a woman, has her job and then the unpaid labor of the household and stuff. And so, I know they mean it because they never had time to do anything. And I've seen more of India than my parents have, just through touring and traveling. And so, they actually have stood behind that. Yeah.
But I'm proud of the way they turned out. They are fine human beings, very sensitive, courteous to people. Whatever I think I taught them or showed them by being the one, I think they made me proud, I should say. Not often enough, but this is the only time I have to say that.
Aww. In closing, good luck, Kevin.
And this is going to be a jarring segue. This is a question from a 28-year-old listener in San Francisco.
So I have a question about sex specifically. I've been with my boyfriend for 4 years, and we've lived together for 2 years. And in the last year or so, we've pretty much stopped having sex. Right now, we're doing it about once a month, or sometimes once every other month. I'm just really busy with a new career in school, and I'm not really interested or thinking about sex at all. He actually has been struggling with depression that lowers his sex drive, but I really can't see myself with anyone else. So is there a rule for a minimum amount of sex a couple my age should be having? And at what point does the plateau become an indication of a doomed relationship?
You already used your pass.
I got to take
Hurry.
a call.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's a really difficult question. It seems ridiculous to put a number on it. Like once you put a number on it, you're like done, isn't it? Like you can't be like, okay, it's that time. All right, it's that day. We agreed to that day. So, get all into me and I'll get into you. And it doesn't,
Well, here's what I hear her saying. She says, I can't picture myself with anyone else. She says, I'm busy. I'm not really in the mood. He might be depressed, not in the mood. So it sounds like she's saying, I'm worried that we're not normal. But we're both not really excited about sex right now.
Well, so it's not like one of them is excited about sex and the other one is just completely...
Yeah, so to me, I feel like if the question is, are we normal or not? If it's working, if you're both getting what you need, focus on that. Focus on what's missing if it feels like it's not like we're not doing what we think we should be doing. Right. It's, does this feel like something is missing between us in terms of connection or intimacy?
Oh, then at that point, then that, again, it's like the question we answered earlier regarding like, well, who cares what other people think? Because if it comes down to what is the expectation, what is the norm, there is no norm. You're talking about two people with all sorts of different variables trying to find a way to make it work. There is no norm. You figure it as you go along. So if this is working for them, if they don't feel like something's missing, it's like,
Maybe she's thinking that may not be going in the right direction.
What do you mean?
She did ask for advice.
Oh,
yeah. So the thing is, I think everybody's life has a point where both are stressed. Life is stressful nowadays, and especially for younger ones like young adults. And so she's busy with her career, and that's important. And he has a problem, he's depressed. So I think they should do he should get better, seek help. And she should do what she should do and talk it out. If they care for each other, they'll be fine after a couple of months or a year. As long as you care about each other, that's the most important thing in a relationship. I love this person. We are going through a bad patch. There is no Tuesday, Wednesday, there is no mark like that. So just be happy and talk it out, solve your problems, achieve your goals, and things will be fine.
Gosh, Uma, somebody give this woman a podcast. Just really. Shoo! Here's a question from an anonymous listener.
I've been struggling with an issue which feels like it has finally come to a head, and I can't think of better people to ask for advice than Hari and Mrs. Kondabolu. So I'm currently in a graduate program. This program is really competitive, and I hadn't made any friends until January when I started to become close with someone. We started spending a lot of time together, and she's been a huge source of support for me as I have been for her. The problem is, a few weeks ago, she started making racist comments or jokes, targeting mostly my race. I'm Latina, but sometimes other races. She also makes sexist comments. I've told her it's not funny, I hate it, and it's fucked up. She's continued to do so, and now I just want to end the friendship. What's the best way of doing it, considering we'll have to spend the next 2 years together in class? I appreciate your help.
That's a tough one for me.
Yeah.
I think if she really values this friendship, she needs to talk to her friend seriously. There are sensitivities. Some things are more sensitive to me than others. And she shouldn't cross that line. If this girl finds it offensive, she should tell her so. If she doesn't stop, tell her this is not working with me and I'm getting upset by you talking like that. Or sometimes people don't mean what they say, but they think it's funny. To get a quick laugh or something, they say something. I think maybe that's her problem. She wants to entertain this girl and both of them are like, they know that. So if she's genuine, she'll find another friend, if not this person. I'm sure she doesn't mean harm, hopefully, and they should talk it out.
I mean, if the issue is, am I going to lose my friend? Well, from the sounds of it, like she's made an attempt to try to tell her friend, how this hurts her, that it's messed up, and her friend apparently has stopped being her friend already. That's all. It seems like that's already as bad. You can give the person an ultimatum, like, I don't think I can keep doing this if you're going to be that way, and if that continues, what friend are you trying to save? There is no. At that point, it's past friendship, isn't it? And then if the issue is like, okay, then I am no longer friends with this person, and I have to deal with them. We already have to deal with them. We're already dealing with them in a more intimate way as friends. I think it's almost easier to deal with the awkwardness of passing by them in the hall than having to actually deal with them on a one-on-one level, hurting you. Also, like if as a person of color trying to deal with racism in this country, having to deal with someone that you care about and who does racist things and who you cannot be around anymore. I mean, in some ways, it's like, there's a lot of terrible racist stuff that a person of color has to deal with on a day-to-day, and part of me feels like, yeah, this is maybe good practice in a weird way. Sometimes it's not as simple as like strange, racist, other. Sometimes it's a person who's close to you, somebody you actually care about and are invested in. That's what makes it hurt more, because you let yourself be vulnerable. And in some weird way, I think it's almost like you go through this, if you decide not to be friends and you have to deal with that awkwardness, I mean, that's part of building a skin thick enough to deal with what you're going to deal with after school.
So is the practice learning how to take it? Or are you saying the practice is learning how to say, I'm not going to take this?
No, it's both. I think it's learning how to say, I'm not going to take this. Learning how to say that, like, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. Drawing a line, realizing that, like, it's not a friendship at a certain point. It's not, if the person is constantly hurting you, even if they have amazing traits with them, if they're willing to hurt you, that enough to me is like I'll be good to you, but I'm going to be mean to you. That's abusive. I think at that point you have to get out of that situation unless the person is willing to actively work on themselves. But I think after that point, when you have to deal with that person outside of it, if the fear is like, well, I have to interact with them again, I have to deal with them again, but that's the real world. Like, there are people you have to work with that you hate. There are people, your bosses are racist. Your family members who are racist. This is the real world. Like, this is not that irregular in terms of a person in my life I don't want to deal with, but I have to interact with outside of friendship. That part, I think, that comes with part and parcel of America.
She should show her strength in able to say to her, stop it now. It's developing a character. Show the other person. Sometimes they play with your emotions to see how far they can go for some strange reason. And I went through that couple of times. And then at some point, you need to look them straight in the eye. I know what you are doing. Stop it. And next time, I may not be this pleasant or polite. I'm smiling all the time, but not inside. And then you won't want to be around me if that happens. I think that's important for her to be able to say that and avoid her. And then a couple of times they talk to you and then they realize it, that you believe what you are saying, and then just that's it.
We have another question from the audience. Sometimes I think I'm addicted to Googling my problems. Is this bad, unhealthy?
I mean, sometimes it's good to talk to a professional if you need to. Like, is this cancer? Oh, I think it's cancer. Well, find out if it's cancer. I think that treat Google as if you are talking, like, I have a question. Let me talk to 100 random people to see what the answer is. I'm like, do you trust those 100 random people? Really? What should I do? I think I feel this bump. What do you think it is? What do they know? I would, I'm assuming that's what you go, what else would the person be Googling?
I once Googled, should I get divorced? I swear, I Googled that once.
Wow.
I was at the end of I was so desperate. And it was really, it was like late at night, and I had a question. So I Googled it.
Yeah.
And there was not an answer from Google. But it was really interesting to notice that my impulse when I'm like wondering about this, you go to Google. So I think it's like, what are you Googling? And pay attention to that question. Google's not going to give you the answer to the big questions.
When you decided to Google that, what were you hoping for? Just to kind of get a survey of the world?
I was hoping for a survey of the world, and also some really well-crafted, here are the real 9 signs you should get divorced.
Right,
the real one.
Right. This is from like the New England Journal of Medicine,
Exactly.
not BuzzFeed. Right.
This is evidence-based 9 signs you should get divorced. Right. Yes, that's what I was Googling. We have another question. I'm going to do another one from the audience because it's one of my favorites that we've gotten so far. Let me find it. A family member left me some money, and my inserted new husband and I don't agree about what to do with it. We're recently married, and it was my family member. How much does my husband get to say about what we do with this money?
Oof.
That's a difficult one. Depends on how much you know about him, because she said she's recently married. How much can you trust his judgment? It's not about money or anything else, because they have yet to travel a little bit further to know about each other. So until that time, put it in the bank and don't talk about it.
I honestly don't know what to do with that. I mean, because I feel like, to me, it's, I'm trying to understand, like, just because you're married doesn't necessarily mean that your relationship is more advanced than someone who is not married. Like, if you're 3 years in, you're still only 3 years in, maybe you still don't know a ton about this person. You don't know what it is that, like, how they view money, how they interact with money, how you both share money. If that's all new, then it seems a little strange to all of a sudden your first big thing as a couple is, there's a ton of money here, what do we do with it? No, keep it to the side and decide later. I feel like my initial thought was, they're married, so that they should probably, split it and figure out what they want to do with it. And then it's like, what does it have to do with being married? That really has to do with the nature of their relationship. Yeah.
It's her money. Right. It's like she has a say in it. If decision should be mutual, if she doesn't know, if she wouldn't have asked if she's sure of it.
But why does it have to be mutual? Because they just got married and it's her.
That's why it should be mutual if it's a big money. Because if she wants to buy a house, he should live there too.
Oh, you mean he should?
So if they want to have kids, he should be there too. So it should be mutual. So just take your time until you know that person well, whether you want to live with him for longer or have kids with him or whatever. Just get to know each other, and once you trust he has a sound judgment, he means well, then decide.
And if he flips out about this, well then,
then he's not the guy.
Right, and find out whether you can get it annulled. Is this the kind of advice you were hoping we would give?
This is exactly right. This is exactly right. It seems like this is an opportunity to decide how they're going to handle money together.
Yes, and then this is a good indicator that they should talk about these issues more and more and leave the money aside first.
Yeah, I put it in the bank and leave it there for a minute.
And then let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And she should make her wishes clear.
Man, all the hard relationship questions, I'm just saying whatever. I really have no idea. I'm just like guessing. Like I guess
Just be careful. There is somebody out there listening to this. Maybe
everything's a dating opportunity. Everything, right now. Everything's an opportunity. Fine, Mom.
One more listener question. My parents live in Oregon. They're recently retired, ready to move. My life is here. Job, fiance, his family, the works. They're thinking of moving to Florida or Indiana. I desperately want them to live in a 3-hour radius of me here in the New York City area. How do I convince them? How do I convince my parents to move closer to me?
that's not fair. To force them or blackmail them emotionally or just say, I want you around me. They're retired. They have a life. And Florida warmth is what they want. They should get it. And you visit them more often. And Florida is 1 hour away from here. So that's not bad. Ask them to go to Orlando where flights are convenient.
Yeah, I get. Yeah.
Did your family feel ready for you to come to the U.S. when you left India?
No. I was the firstborn in the family. I always was the one who provided support for my parents, not financially, being the firstborn. You think they thought I make sound judgments, and I believed it too. And I always taking care of them and my siblings. My father was very devastated when I left. My mother, sort of being a woman, she understood like women's life is they're together and whatnot. For me, it was difficult too. But only thing I could tell them was, you are the ones who arranged this. You could have found the guy next door.
It's on you.
Like, what do you want me to do? I said yes to this guy. Now I committed myself to this relationship. It's like we both need to live. And then we had rough time in the beginning. And I was settled, old enough, and career I had. And I had an excellent family, and which I drew a lot of strength from in the initial stages of moving here. The thought of those memories pulled me through many, many tough times. But it was okay in the end. I'm happy, and I had nice kids and husband.
Nice recovery, Mom. That's good recovery.
Your mom is on her way soon for a long visit to
she's
Queens.
82, and she wants to be close to the grandchildren.
You know, it's funny. Like, so my grandmother last lived in the U.S. in 1995 or 96.
Yeah, almost 20 more years.
Yeah.
She came here to be near you. Is that why she came here?
When she raised them when they were younger.
More my brother. I mean, like, he was like, because I was a little bit older, like we're 3 years apart, but like when he was like basically a baby, so she had come in like 85, and then again towards the end of the 80s and until about 95. And then she moved back to India, and she lives alone in her town. And, you know, we'll talk on the phone, and I'll say, you know, when are you going to come visit us here? You haven't been here in so long. And she would say, well, I'll come on, you know, when you and your brother get married on one of your wedding days. And she finally tapped out. She was just kind of like, she's just like, oh, 22 years, you're still holding strong, huh? Okay, I guess I don't have that much time to keep waiting. So I guess I'm gonna make this trip this year. So, yeah.
She's coming this month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very happy about it. And she wants to see them more often, but they need to make their adjustments and spend some time with her.
Yeah, it's weird just because like touring schedules and stuff, and it's like, how do I explain? She doesn't know what that means. And it's like, I guess I gotta be. I've been an okay son, so I better be a better grandson. I guess that's what it means.
No answer for that.
Okay.
We have one final question from a Death, Sex, and Money listener named Laura.
Hi, my name is Laura. I was calling to see if I could get some dating advice from Hari. Specifically, how do I date Hari?
Okay.
Just because I think he's cute and we share a worldview. I also wanted to say that I am generally mom approved, though one ex's mother did call me opinionated. I don't think it seems like Uma has a problem with opinionated women. So thank you so much.
You have a fan.
It's a good thing you ended on that one. How does someone date me? Well, usually I meet the person. I then get to know the person, and we decide where it goes from there. I'm open to new things, but historically that has been the pattern. Was it to date me or go on a date? Because those are different things. I mean, hang out? I don't know. Email me.
It begins with hang out.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing.
I don't know. I'm awkward about this stuff, man. I don't know. What's kind of weird though, just because I tried Bumble for don't worry about this. I tried.
And Bumble, does your mom know what Bumble is?
So
it's a good dating app. It's an app where women get to choose to initiate, so they don't get harassed. But men who sign up for Bumble are saying, "I'm open to being initiated on." That's the term.
I don't
by
want
a woman.
to know, Anna.
So you joined Bumble.
I joined Bumble, and first of all, let me just say I quit. I've since quit Bumble. The whole thing's weird, man. Because initially you're reading profiles and you're trying to get to know who people are, and then after a while, I was like, I don't got time for this. I'm in New York, so you're just you're just
swiping.
Going. You're just playing the numbers. Let's just keep going. It's awful. And then I'd get into situations where people would message me first, and then I'd find out they didn't want to get to know me. They're fans of my work. And I had one person hey, when are you playing Cleveland again? I'm like, for the love of God, I have a website. Or I'd go on a date. I had one person say I feel like I already know you because I listened to your Fresh Air so many times. I'm like, well, this is done. This is done. If you think you already know me, then there's already a power dynamic in place. And there's already preconceived notions.
Terry
it's worse
does
than
do
Googling.
a good job, though. Terry really gets at the heart of things.
Very good.
Yes.
Maybe Terry should set me up then. But I feel so for me, it's an awkward thing because of that. It's not a high level of fame, but enough of a fame where it's a nuisance. When I want to get to genuinely meet another human being without preconceived notions. Yeah, so the answer is, are you sure? Really? I'm a bit neurotic and I travel a lot and I barely see my mother. That's
You're really
bad.
making the case.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't know. I think, introduce yourself. How about that? At some point, say hello, say who you are. Maybe we'll chat a bit. If it goes well, we'll exchange numbers, and then we'll go through the dating process I mentioned earlier with regards to. So I think let's go with that.
This fame thing is not real. Once you know somebody,
I thought you said you're not famous, and that's I was like, how dare you?
Even moderate success, so to say.
Moderate is fine.
Yes, that's not real. People are real. So once they cross that initial stages, they find real you. I think you are not giving people that chance, and you are making up your own mind.
Is there another question after this? This is the last one, right?
We could go all night on this one. Yeah.
I don't know about all that. I know that it's. I don't know. I'm like, man, really? Damn. I have no idea how to answer this question. I know that I'm in a weird in-between stage of trying to figure out what I'm doing with my career, and knowing that in the next relationship I'm in, I want to be better than I was in my previous relationships. I want to be more present, both physically and mentally, and I want to make sure that my career doesn't. I had a really difficult time in all my major relationships of putting my phone down. And that's just being present.
It's just a couple of them, not like you saying as if it's like a list. As far as I know, I think there were a couple.
There were two very notable examples, but there were other people as well where I probably, self-destructed
I would have
before.
nipped them in the butt, damn it.
Well, here's what we know is you can deeply love a woman who challenges you and forces you to grow, because we know what a special relationship you have with your mother.
Yes.
So that is important, and that makes me feel love for both of you. That is the end of our show.
Thanks,
Uma
Anna.
Kondabolu and Hari Kondabolu. Thank you for being on Death, Sex, and Money. Again, check out his comedy album, Mainstream American Comic. He's at Littlefield in Brooklyn this Saturday night, and he makes the podcast Politically Reactive with W. Kamau Bell. Laura, if you're listening, you should definitely go to Littlefield in Brooklyn on Saturday night.
Ironically, it's for a show called Tinder Live.
Oh my God, stars aligning. Uma and Hari Kondabolu, thank you, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.